2.5 is called literal equations. Today we're going to look at another perspective of solving. The rules are not going to change, though there will be a couple of processes that you will learn today. Nothing too major though. First, it's important that we revisit a vocabulary term that we probably not paid much attention to, which is the word solve. Solve for x means get x alone. Solve for e means get e alone. So whenever you're asking to solve, pretty much what that means is get your variable alone. The difference is in today's work there's going to be more than one variable, so it's going to be important that we know which variable we are getting alone. Again, that pattern goes for everything else in the instructions of the problem. If literal equations have multiple variables, what do I do with the extra variables? Well, the answer is ignore the unimportant ones and treat them like numbers. Just act like they are the same as everything else. The only variable you're worried about is the one you're solving for. So let's look at some examples real quick just to give you an idea of what we mean by ignore. X plus 3 equals 11. We know that we would subtract 3, bring down x, bring down 8. We should know that from before. But when you get to x plus y equals z, solving for x means I would put a dot underneath this variable because there's more than one, so I'll put a dot under here to make sure I know this is what I want to get alone, recognizing it's with y. I move the y by using its opposite just like I did with the 3. The difference is 11 and 3 go together, z and y do not. You would just write z minus y because I can't simplify that anymore because those are not like terms and you cannot combine them. That's it. That's all you have to do. If you had 9x equals 45, we know that these two are attached to multiplication, so we divide by 9, we get x equals 5. If I had xy equals z, again I would put a dot under the variable that's important, which is x, and know I need to get rid of y. This is being divided, so I'm going to divide by y, and x would equal z over y. Again, I cannot simplify that anymore because both of those are variables, and that's as far as I can go. So that's the second idea you'll see today. And the third idea here, same thing, x divided by 8 equals 11. I know we usually put it down here, but typically on paper I show my multiplication up top because that's usually where the multiplication is. Those 8's go away, x comes down with 88. So over here, if it was x over y equals z, again, if I want that alone, I need to get rid of the y. It's being divided, so I would multiply by y, and I would always put my variables in alphabetical order if that's the case, because remember we don't show a sign, it would just be x equals y, z. So this represents the three decisions you are going to make. Hopefully you copy these three things down, at least these three things, because that's the decisions you're going to make throughout the whole part. Just like I said, solving is a game where you make 5, I think, basic decisions. Those are your main decisions you're going to make today. So notice that your algebra does not change. You just have to learn to be comfortable with weird answers that occur when you perform operations with multiple variables. Once you get used to the weirdness, everything else just falls into place. The examples, actually there are no notes through here. That's pretty much hopefully here for you to copy. So if you copy these, you should have you pretty much ready for your homework except for maybe a couple, and when you get to those couple, you should email. You should know that I do put questions on homework on purpose that make you ask questions just to see if you're doing your job, or if you're just talented enough to find it, or if you actually found another way to find it, whatever it might be. But you won't see everything, but your note should cover most of what you need to keep you on track. 35 equals 9t minus 5u. I'm solving for t, so what I would do is put a dot right there. The t's closest friend is 9, which means this is the weak part. The whole thing is weak, so what I'm going to do is add 5u. Because that whole term is just nothing to me. Because I care about the t, I don't care about anything else. I'm literally just picking that up and putting it over here using the opposite. But I can't put those together, so I put 35 plus 5u equals 9t. T again is what I want alone. I got to get rid of the 9, so what you do is you just put that whole thing over 9 and write this answer as your final answer. That's all. It's just ugly. But again, copy the example, practice it a little bit, open your mind to it, and things will work out just like it's supposed to. That is one where you have one variable to get rid of and you have a few things to move. This one here, solve for y, ay, and by. If you notice, we have two y's in that problem. And anytime you have more than one thing that you need there, we are going, especially if you're solving this part and you can't put them together, we are going to do what we call factoring. Again, you might want to write this down off to the side, but factoring is pretty much dividing. We are going to divide both of those terms by y by pulling off a y. And if I were to take off a y, I'd be left with a plus b. Again, y times a is ay, y times b is by. I just did a division to pull my y off of both terms. And so that's what you'll need to do. This is an important question because this will cause you issues when you see it on the computer. So again, make sure you copy it. Make sure you think about that when you see that weird one. But other than that, this is y times a plus b, and I want y by itself, so what I'm going to do is divide by a plus b, because if it's y times 6 and I divide by 6, it goes away. So both of those go away, and my answer would just be e over a plus b. Do not allow this to frustrate you. Just do your best on it. The good news is literal equations don't pop up a lot. They do have an importance though. For example, in the problems that I program for you, I have to find the answer of what the variable is, and so I just typically do the same problems you work out with variables and make all kinds of weird stuff. But other than that, solve for k. This is what I want here. If I was working that out, I hope you remember this question. This is where these two are close. That one's the weakest one, so I'm going to get rid of u by multiplying by u. UVW, I think u goes first, so UW equals k plus p. Again, I want k by itself, so I got to get rid of this, so I will subtract p from both sides, and again, you'll just put UW minus p equals k. It's just random, generic solving done in a way that, make sure that you understand what's going on. Solve for t. So t is right there. S and u are going to be the last ones to go, but r is the weakest, so I'm going to subtract r. By the way, on the computer, if they use a capital, make sure you use a capital. Otherwise, they will mark you wrong. And then STU is left over. Again, I want t because it says solve for t. So I'm going to divide by everything I don't want, which is s and u, because that makes that go away, this makes that go away, and there is my answer. Alright. So again, just be sure that when you're working these out, you read the instructions to determine which variable is your target. Afterwards, think carefully and don't try to rush through. If you take your time and choose wisely, you'll do it correctly. Again, if you are putting your work on paper, you can always send me a question with your work on paper, and I can explain to you what you might have done wrong. Other than that, here, the notes here that I am going, actually this is all your notes again. So pause your video, copy those down, and then don't forget to answer the question at the end. Good luck.